Hey, y'all like this Knack 2 shirt? This joint is hot, right? It's got the red Knack, the blue Knack. And I didn't know the next Knack game was gonna be based off the Crips and the Bloods though, cause this look like Crips and Blood shirt. This what it look like. Shout out to Mark Cerny. Back from a little vacation after E3 2017, your boy, your humble host Chris Kazama is back. Welcome to another episode of the Greatest Away Show. And today we're going to be getting into an interesting topic, kind of a hot topic that's been moving around the internet, talking about Sony and their first party titles and their formula to cinematic story driven games that they've been releasing lately. Obviously we've seen at E3 2017 games like Days Gone and Marvel Spider-Man really taking that cinematic approach, but there's been a bit of criticism there, seeing that a lot of Sony's first party games or blockbuster hits are really following this formula. So today we're going to get into the topic of, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Stay tuned. You just tuned into another episode of the Greatest Away Show here with your boy Chris Kazama. Let's get it. Alright, before we get into the topic, let's talk about the upcoming PlayStation Plus free games for the month of July. Just announced Until Dawn and Telltale's Game of Thrones. Two good games, not bad. It's two pretty good pickups if you've never played them, even if you have played them before and you don't have Until Dawn or Game of Thrones. Not a bad pickup. But speaking of Until Dawn, let's get back into the topic at hand. Is Sony cashing in on a cinematic story-driven approach a little too much when it comes to their first party games? Let me see, how should I say this? No. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what works for Sony right now. This is what works for Sony's first party studios that are really trying to tell a story right now, and I have no problem with it. As I've said before, Naughty Dog is setting the stage as to how story games should be told. I mean, we can even go back to 2009 with the first Uncharted game, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. It was the first time we seen Naughty Dog come out with a game where they mixed cinematics and gameplay and just meshed it in, just smashed it in an all-one game, and it worked. And it worked really well. And then they released Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, and they added multiplayer, and they got Game of the Year. Then they did it with Uncharted 3. Then they did it with Uncharted 4. Then they did it with Last of Us. I think I said that in the wrong, because I think Last of Us came before Uncharted 4. But you get the whole point. They've been doing this for a while, and every single game that they do it, it works. And you gotta know the other first party studios at Sony are looking and taking notes. They're watching, they want a piece of that success, and obviously Guerrilla Games have been watching really well and taking a lot of notes, because I mean, I don't even have to say anything else. I mean, this is pretty much all I gotta say. Now, the core of this criticism didn't start just recently. It started way back then on the PlayStation 3 when Quantic Dream released Heavy Rain. There was a lot of criticism of the game for its lack of gameplay and more cutscenes and story being shown, and the balance between those two. But Heavy Rain is a cult classic amongst like PlayStation fans, so I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, and I played Beyond Two Souls. That's probably one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 3. And then just recently, we've heard criticism for games like, you know, Until Dawn, and really big criticism for games like The Order 1886, which a lot of people really were looking forward to, but I guess we're disappointed because there was a lack of gameplay and more cutscenes. But I played all these games, and I didn't really have any issues with any of them. I enjoyed all of them separately. I mean, I even got a platinum in The Order 1886. That'll just let you know how much I really enjoyed The Order 1886. That story was dope. So I want to honestly say I think the criticism was revived when Sony Santa Monica announced God of War. And a lot of people seen that this new God of War game, God of War 4, however you want to say it, is going to be taking a more cinematic story-driven approach than the previous games in the franchise. And I think a lot of people are scared or nervous that the gameplay is going to be less impactful than the titles previously released in the franchise. And I mean, nobody can really say that, because I mean, nobody's played it. All we can do is talk about what we've seen so far, and they haven't really shown us a lot. I wish I could tell you guys how I played, because I thought they were going to have it on the floor at E3 2017, but they hit me with that Chief Keef, nah. So yeah, I didn't get to play it. But just speaking back on games such as Days Gone and Marvel Spider-Man, I mean, we've seen both of those during the media press conference at E3 this year, and we've seen that they're both going to be taking a cinematic approach in obviously different ways. One is a Spider-Man universe, the other is a post-apocalyptic environment. and we seen gameplay, and obviously the gameplay wasn't affected at all by cutscenes or story or anything like that. I mean, Spider-Man looks damn good. Days Gone looks damn good. Really can't wait for Days Gone. And so I think that's really the argument here when we talk about games or Sony's first party titles that are really taking this cinematic story driven approach. So I think the question that we need to be asking ourselves here is, will the cutscenes and story negatively impact the gameplay? Will there be an unbalance of cutscenes to gameplay? Because the games, the blockbuster first party titles that Sony has been releasing lately, Uncharted 4, the Horizon Zero Dawns, The Last of Us Part 2 that's coming soon, they look good. We know what to expect from them. We know that there's gonna be a healthy balance of cutscene, story, and gameplay. Now, like I said, we can make the argument with games like Until Dawn, The Order 1886, but like I said, lately the formula has worked. There's been a clean, healthy balance, and everybody's really been enjoying the game. So my motto is here: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if you're thinking that every game that comes out from Sony is going to be a cinematic experience, how'd y'all like that Gravity Rush 2 earlier this year? How'd y'all like that Neo? How y'all liking that new Knack 2 that's coming later on this year in September? How y'all liking that? Because that's definitely not cinematic. I'm gonna tell you, right? I played that. That is not cinematic. But that's it. We're gonna wrap up the topic right there. I think you guys got the point. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Should Sony continue with this formula, or should they switch it up a little bit concerning the criticism that they've been receiving lately from the fans? That is it for today's episode of The Greatest Away Show. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Check the description box below for The Greatest Away Show Facebook page. You can stay right there for all updates. Obviously, my Twitter is down there, Chris PKZ Kasama. Follow me on there. I do tweet every once in a while. It's not my biggest thing, but I do tweet on there, so follow me on there. Let's chat it up. And until next time, guys, I am your humble host, Chris Kazama. Stay great. Peace.